The high-pitched, desperate cries echoed through the quiet pine forest, a sound that spoke of profound and recent loss. They came from a hollow log, a damp and dark refuge that was now a tomb for two memories. Inside, huddled together for warmth that their small bodies could not generate, were three wild wolf pups. Their eyes, a milky, unseeing blue, were screwed shut as they wailed for a mother who would never return. A poacher's trap had seen to that, and a conservation officer, finding the slain adult, had followed the frantic sounds to this sad little den. This is how they came to be in the sterile, humming environment of the Northern Rockies Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, a place of hope and last resorts. They were listless, their tiny ribs visible beneath thin fur, refusing the formula offered from a syringe. They were fading, not from hunger, but from a broken heart. A wolf pup without its pack, without the specific scent and sound of its mother, simply gives up. It is a sorrow that runs deeper than any physical need. Dr. Aries Thorne, the center's director, a man with eyes as weathered as the mountains he loved, watched them with a grimace. "They are not going to make it," he said to his head keeper, Lena. "Not like this. They need something we can't give them in an incubator." Lena, a woman whose hands were gentle but whose resolve was steel, nodded slowly. "They need a mother." Aries sighed, running a hand through his gray-speckled hair. "We don't have a female wolf. And even if we did, introducing pups this young to a new, potentially aggressive adult is a huge risk." "I wasn't thinking of a wolf," Lena said, her gaze steady. Aries followed her line of sight out the window, to the large, fenced enclosure where his own dog, a gentle, tawny-coated mixed breed named Kona, was lazily sunning herself. Kona, who had recently weaned a litter of her own puppies, which had all been successfully homed. Kona, whose milk had not yet fully dried up. Kona, whose entire world was built upon a foundation of unwavering love and maternal instinct. A dog! Aries breathed, the idea hanging in the air between them, audacious and fragile. "Lena, it's never been done here. The scent, the behavior, it could go terribly wrong. Or it could be the only thing that saves them," Lena countered softly. "Look at her. Her body is still telling her she's a mother. Her heart has been telling her that her whole life." The decision was a calculated risk, a roll of the dice with three tiny lives at stake. The plan was meticulous. They would introduce the pups to Kona in a neutral, controlled space. They would rub the pups with a blanket that carried Kona's scent to mask their own wild, alien smell. They would be ready to intervene at the first sign of aggression. The chosen room was quiet and warm. Kona was led in first, her tail wagging in a slow, curious sweep, her nails clicking on the linoleum floor. She sniffed the air, sensing the tension in her humans. Then, Lena brought in the plastic carrier. The moment the lid was opened, the pathetic, mewling cries of the wolf pups filled the room. Kona's ears pricked forward, her head tilted. The wag in her tail ceased, replaced by a stiff, questioning posture. This was the critical moment. Would she see them as intruders, as strange, wild creatures? Or would she hear what Aries and Lena so desperately hoped she would hear, the universal, heartbreaking sound of babies in need? Lena, her heart hammering against her ribs, gently lifted one of the squirming pups. It was the smallest of the three, a little female with a dark gray muzzle. She placed the pup on the soft blanket in the center of the room. The pup immediately curled into a tight, trembling ball, its cries growing more frantic. Kona took a slow, cautious step forward. Then another. She lowered her head, her wet, black nose twitching as she inhaled the pup's scent. It was wrong. It was sharp and musky, not the sweet, milky scent of her own puppies. A low rumble started deep in her chest, a vibration of uncertainty that made Aries' hand tighten on the catch-pole he held, ready to pull her back. The pup, blind and deaf, sensed the immense warmth and presence looming over it. It flailed its tiny head, its mouth opening and closing in a desperate, instinctual search for nourishment. And then something shifted. The low rumble in Kona's chest softened, then vanished entirely. It was replaced by a sound so tender, so profoundly gentle, it brought tears to Lena's eyes. It was a soft whine, a canine lullaby. Kona's rigid posture melted away. Her body languid transformed from one of caution to one of aching concern. She nudged the trembling pup with her nose, not a hard poke, but a gentle, reassuring touch. Then she began to lick it. It started on the top of its head, a slow, deliberate stroke that smoothed the fuzzy fur. Then she licked its back, its tiny legs, cleaning away the scent of the forest, of fear, of loneliness, and replacing it with her own. She was anointing it. She was claiming it. Lena didn't wait. She brought out the other two pups and placed them beside their sister. Kona's response was immediate and overwhelming. She whined again, a sound rich with maternal urgency, and began to lavishly wash all three, her big, pink tongue moving over them with a rhythmic, loving care. The pups, feeling the warmth, the cleaning, the familiar sensation of mother's touch, began to quiet. Their frantic cries softened into contented squeaks and grunts. Then Kona carefully, gingerly, lay down beside them, curling her body around the tiny trio. She looked up at Aries and Lena, her brown eyes clear and purposeful, as if to say, "It's okay. I have them now." The smallest pup, the one she had nudged first, rooted its way toward her belly. It found what it was searching for, latched on, and began to nace. A moment later, the other two followed. The room, once filled with the sounds of despair, was now silent save for the soft, rhythmic sound of suckling in Kona's contented sighs. It was a miracle, a cross-species adoption born not from logic, but from the pure, undiluted power of a mother's love. Kona, the gentle dog, had become the foster mother to 3 wild wolf pups. In the weeks that followed, the bond only deepened. Kona was their world. She nursed them, cleaned them, and taught them the first lessons of canine life with gentle nips and encouraging licks. She let them clamber over her, tug on her ears, and use her tail as a toy. The pups, whom the staff had named Shadow, Luna, and Aspen, flourished. Their eyes opened, revealing the intelligent, gold-flecked gaze of wolves. Their legs grew strong, and their playful, rough-and-tumble games began to resemble the coordinated maneuvers of a future pack. But Kona never treated them as anything other than her own. When they ventured too far in their enclosure, a single, sharp bark from her would send them scrambling back to her side. When they slept, it was always in a pile, a tangle of tawny dog fur and silvery gray wolf fur, a living tapestry of an impossible family. Aries and Lena watched, awestruck, every day. They knew this was a temporary haven. The pups were destined for a soft-release program, to be returned to the wild where they belonged. Kona's job was to give them the strength, the social skills, and the emotional foundation to survive there. The day finally came when the pups were old enough to be moved to a pre-release sanctuary, a vast, wild tract of land where they would learn to hunt and live as wolves, with minimal human contact. Separating them from Kona was one of the hardest things the team had ever done. As the pups were led into a transfer crate, Kona whined, pacing at the fence line, her eyes fixed on her charges. She knew, when the van drove away, she lay down by the gate, her head on her paws, and refused to eat for 2 days. Her heart was broken, but it was a sacrifice made in the full knowledge of her duty. She had given them everything they needed to live. Months later, a motion-activated camera in the deep woods captured a stunning image. A small pack of young, healthy wolves moved with fluid grace through the snow. They were strong, their coats thick, their eyes sharp. Leading them was a confident female, Shadow, and trotting along beside them, her tail held high, was a wolf who, for a fleeting moment, turned her head towards a camera. In her golden eyes there was a wildness, a fierce independence, but also a ghost of a memory of a warm tongue, a safe embrace, and the unwavering love of a mother who happened to be a dog. Kona's legacy was not just their survival, but a whisper in the wild, a story passed down in howls, of a love that transcended the very definitions of nature itself.